that are still planning to join us will do so soon. So, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May meeting for the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority Board of Directors. As we've just been mentioning, I hope everyone enjoyed the holiday weekend, but I know a lot of people spent it working, trying to clear up brush and cut some damaged trees and get their hydro restored. Certainly quite a storm that went through the province, but for the most part, it sounds like our watershed and this area of the province was spared. And certainly if you talk to folks up in Eastern Ontario, sort of north of Toronto, from Peterborough all the way up to up into Quebec, it's certainly a lot of destruction. And unfortunately, I think we're up to 10 people now that have died as a result. People that were crushed by trees or people that were actually in a boat in open water. So it's certainly a very powerful storm that went through, but we're quite fortunate we didn't get more damage in our watershed. So again, welcome everyone to the meeting. Just a quick reminder of a few items. Emily Chandler is our meeting host. If you have some issues, try to contact Emily through the chat feature and she'll keep you in the loop and in the meeting. So please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Try to use your raised hand feature. If you can't, just call out and get my attention. We're going to do, of course, all the votes by roll call. And just a reminder that the meeting is being recorded and it's live streamed on our YouTube channel. And that's part of our requirements to allow public viewing and public access to our meetings. So the only regret we have today is from Brian Petrie. So with that, I'm going to ask Michelle to do the roll call, please, for attendance.
Marie Blosh.
Are you there, Marie?
Marie? Ooh, I think we might have lost her. She was a bit in and out, I noticed previously.
Okay, maybe she'll come back soon then.
Yeah, I'll come back to Marie. Anna Hopkins.
Here.
Tony Jackson.
Yes.
Sandy Levin.
Here.
Margaret Lupton.
Here.
Nancy Manning.
Here.
Hugh McDermott.
Here.
Paul Mitchell.
Here.
Anna Marie Murray.
Here.
Jim Reffel.
Here.
Joe Salter.
Here.
Mark Schadenberg.
Here.
Alex Westman. I don't see him on the list. And I see Marie is coming back in now.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like Alex is with us right now. And Alan Dale.
Present.
And Marie's just joining.
Okay.
It's taking a bit. Yeah, I think she's having some issues.
Okay, well, we're missing 3 then at the moment, and I know Hugh has mentioned that he might have to leave the meeting at some point, so hopefully everyone else doesn't have issues with their electricity or their connectivity, and hopefully we'll be able to keep folks in the meeting. All
Sorry,
right, well, we'll carry on, and hopefully Marie can join us soon there.
Oh, I'm back. I seem to have some kind of problem.
Oh, okay, well, that's good, Marie. Glad to have you with us this morning, and hopefully you don't have any more issues. We can keep you in the meeting. Good. So it looks like right now we have 13 board members present. Great. Next, we have our First Nation territorial greeting. So we'll begin today's meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Adawandran, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Luna-Piuk peoples, who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, Munsee Delaware Nation, and Delaware Nation at Moravian Town. In the region, there are 11 First Nation communities and a growing Indigenous urban population. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island. Next item we have is the modifications to the agenda. I'm not aware of any one thing, but does anyone have anything to add to today's agenda? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so declarations of pecuniary interest. Do any of the board members have any declarations to make for today's meeting? I don't see anything there, so we have no presentations or delegations today. That takes us down to item number 5, which is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, and that's April 26th, 2022. And that's the minutes of the meeting, both from the open session and the closed session. If I could get Tony to move that, please, and Jim to second it.
So moved. I'll second that.
Great, thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Any errors or omissions regarding the minutes from the last meeting? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Reffel,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. 5.2, there is no business arising from the minutes, so I'm aware of.
Alan, I have a question.
Paul, yeah, go ahead.
Business arising, and that was in the minutes under 5.2.2, which was the report on the WSIB rebate. It says that staff will look into whether or not the rebate is related to our claim history. I just wondered if they had any success in establishing that or not.
Okay, Tracy or Christine, I don't know who wants to tackle that.
Sure, I can, Alan, and through the chair. Yes, we did look into it a little bit further, and it was not related at all to our health and safety track record, although we have a great one. It seems to be more of a standardized process route that's being applied by WSIB for those rebates.
Okay, thanks for looking into that, Tracy. Just curious if there was a relationship. There's no reason to be more safe, but just interested. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's good. Thanks, Paul. And yeah, certainly the rebate turned out to be more than we expected, but I guess it's nothing to do with our track record. It's just the way it was a universal rebate to everyone. So, okay. 5.3, we have no correspondence for today's meeting. That takes us down to item number 6. And this is reports for consideration. The first one is 6.1. This is a report from the Finance and Audit Committee. And it includes the approval of the 2021 audited financial statements. If I could get Joe to move that, please, and Mark to second it.
So moved. I'll second it.
Great, thank you. Just a few comments before I turn it over to staff. I'd like to thank a few people. I'd like to thank our auditor. Board members may recall that we are with a new auditor now. So the audit committee went through the process, and we selected Seebach and Company. And it's always a little bit more work the first time you're working with a new auditor, but quite pleased with the job that the auditor did. And of course, quite pleased with the job that the staff did. And of course, too, with still the pandemic and people not being in the office all the time, It worked quite well, to my understanding, that staff were able to get in and provide the information that CBOC needed, and it all worked quite well. So as you can see from the report here, that we did have a recommendation that includes accepting the audit statement, and also goes further and has a couple of other items as a result of Mr. Seebach's observations. And it's things that, as mentioned here, it's asset management planning that municipalities have been dealing with for the last several years is now just coming to the conservation authorities. So I'd like to thank Sandy Levin. Sandy was very good in crafting this motion and putting this all together. But you know, we don't want it to seem like a criticism of staff. Staff have done a great job of making strides in the past several years and getting us to this point. But we have to make several more changes in light of these new provincial requirements. So staff, we're going to give them more work. We're now going to ask for this asset management plan to be fully implemented, and as you can see, continue on with a 5-year operating and capital budget. So it's, as I say, staff have done a lot of work for us, and really, you know, the financial statements are much more complex than they used to be. There's a lot more going on, but we're not there yet. We still have some more work to do. So I think I've said more than enough about that, but Tracy, I don't know if you or Christine want to make some comments first before we open up to questions.
Sure, I can add as well through the chair that staff appreciate the recommendations of the auditor. I think staff had the same experience that Alan just relayed. Yes, with COVID makes it a little bit more challenging, but having those opportunities to work with and alongside the auditors, especially for the first audit, was critical to the success and the understanding of our operations, given that it was the first time that we've been dealing with CBOC. Certainly with the new regulations in place, having an asset management plan is our priority. And as well as we're working with our municipalities to develop memorandums of understanding and agreements, we'll also be looking at broader term plans and opportunities to have those longer term agreements, in particular to align with some municipalities who have multi-year budgets as well. So those types of recommendations further emphasize and support what staff were hoping to accomplish as well. So we appreciate that. Christine, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
At this point, not particularly. The budgeting effort over the long term is going to be a big challenge for us. I know we can do it, certainly, but a longer term budget without a capital plan in place already is going to prove tricky. So we'll be balancing the two together at the same time, hopefully at the same time. And we'll do the best we can for the fall.
Okay, very good. So yes, the report and the recommendations are there before you, and I'll open up for questions. And Anna, you're first. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. And want to thank staff for the report. There's a lot of work that goes into even reporting to us. So thank you for that. And obviously looking down the road, a lot of work to still be done. I guess my first question is around those challenges, needing more staff, getting the work that's already, that the authority is already doing, and how that is going to be managed. I guess is my first question. Any concerns around that? The asset management plan, we're about 2.5 years out, which to me seems like there's some time to do that, but the reality is, any concerns around those timelines? And my third question is regarding the 5-year operating and capital budget, and wondering I assumed that we were doing a 4-year plan. I know we do that in the City of London and to coincide with our budgeting. I'm just curious to know why the 5-year was picked, and it's just a little bit more information around that, even going out to 10 years, if that was even a conversation. But through you, Chair, to staff.
Thank you. And Tracy, I don't know if you or Christine?
Yeah, I'll start, certainly.
Okay.
Yes, there is a lot of work to do from the province, and particularly with asset management planning. There has been some added capacity in our finance department, but there may be some additional needs. We're also trying to coordinate that with our lands and facilities staffing responsibilities, because so much of our assets are on our lands or are part of our facilities. So certainly trying to add some capacity so that we can have staff, that continuity in place over the long term. But the actual plan development, again, I hear the word plan, but everything I've heard about asset management planning is it's more of a process, not just one static document. This is a process over time and how we look at those assets. So that's the first part of it. Certainly Christine has had some ideas about even the cost of consultants to come in and help pull some of these together, and software needs to further maintain this process that we're putting in place. So that's kind of the first part. So the 2024, it is a ways off. But as you know, there's lots of moving parts here, and as was suggested by Christine as well, the capital plan kind of needs to be in place too at the same time as we're juggling the broader assets. So the two we're hoping will dovetail together, and we're going to have to coordinate those efforts. But certainly a lot of time and effort will be required to do that. I'll let Christine answer a little bit further about estimations on time to take. We haven't delved into that a whole lot yet, but certainly have been kicking around some ideas. As for the 5-year operating plan, I'm not sure if Sandy wants to speak to that, as that was the recommendation that came out, or if Christine wants to provide a response and then Sandy add to it. So I'll pass it off to those two. Okay,
Christine, you want to go first?
Sure thing. At this point, a 5-year plan, in my view, is plenty long enough. I don't think, truthfully, the Upper Thames could make a 10-year plan at this point without the capital asset. Without that asset plan being prepared and being accepted, because a good part of what's in a capital asset plan speaks to funding and renewal of assets. And without a complete inventory and assessment of condition yet, we don't know what our needs are going to be that far out. I don't believe also that our long-term plan has to coincide with the city's 4-year plan, because we annually update the city on what our requirements are. So I don't believe 4 years was necessarily the number that it had to be. Many organizations plan 3, 5, and 10 years out. And I think the experience in attempting a 5-year forecast will probably teach us what we can actually do and achieve. And I'm quite sure this first round of longer term planning, multi-year planning, will probably prove that anything beyond 3 years is pretty rough in any case. So as I say, we're going to do the best we can. And it's really a sense of confidence after 3, 5 years and experience in developing longer term plans, because we're not there yet. Anna.
Okay. Sandy, do you have anything you wanted to add at all?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Really only to reiterate what the auditor told us, and that's replicated on page 6 of our agenda, that they noted a lack of overall long-term planning and recommended a 3 to 5 year plan. So using that recommendation, that's where I presented to the Finance and Audit Committee recommendation 3, and that's what's before the board.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Are you okay then, Anna? Or do you have any?
Yeah, I
follow-up
just want
questions?
to thank everyone for the extra information. I really do appreciate it, and glad to know that they have confidence in our new auditors as well.
Okay. Very good. Next we have Paul.
Yes, through you, Alan. The last sentence of the committee's report kind of jumped out at me, and it said that the auditors also had an opportunity to discuss matters with the committee without staff present, but declined. Is that because there were no matters that needed discussing, or that the auditors were unwilling to talk to the committee without staff present?
No, it was just because there was nothing to discuss. He said he was quite pleased with staff and had nothing to relay to the committee members. It's usually just a formality that you have an opportunity to talk to the auditor without staff present, and have an opportunity to talk to staff without the auditor present. But there was nothing that either side had to say. And so, as I said, it went very smoothly and a clean audit. So everybody was quite satisfied.
Thanks for clarifying that. Just the wording kind of confused me a little bit. So appreciate
Yes, and as I say, it's usually I've seen it as a standard condition, but I don't know how we've worded it in the past board reports, but no, we gave him the opportunity to speak privately with the committee, and he declined. He said no, he had no issues to discuss with us. He was quite happy with staff. So hopefully that's clear. We didn't mean to startle anyone with that. Any other questions or comments then regarding the report? I'm not seeing any or hearing anything. So we've got the motion there and a mover and a seconder. So if there's no other questions, I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Is Hugh,
Hugh,
are you still there?
He may have had to step away.
Yeah, we
Okay.
may have
I
lost
saw
Hugh
his
for a bit.
camera was off, so it was on previously.
okay. Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that motion's carried. Thank you. Next item we have is 6.2, and that's our Provincial Offences Act designations. We don't have Alex here, so if I could get Anna to move this, please, and Marie to second it.
I will move it.
And I will second it.
Very good, thank you. So there are recommendations there for a couple of more staff members, and I'm going to turn it over to Tracy, and we've got Brent and Jenna, and they're going to introduce these folks. So Tracy, over to you first.
Yes, I can, through the chair, I can confirm that late Friday, we had confirmation that both Haley and Mike successfully completed their POA training. So that's great news. And I will ask if Brent could introduce Haley and Jenna to introduce Mike Funk in his new role. Familiar face, just different hat he's wearing now. That Brent?
Yes, thank you, Tracy. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to introduce Haley Fitzgibbon. Haley's been with us for over a year now as a land management assistant. Recently was a successful applicant at the land management technician role, and part of that role is enforcement. So she has successfully completed the level 1 compliance training through Conservation Ontario, and yeah, I'd like to hopefully welcome her and get the designation going. So thank you. And I
Very
believe
good.
Haley is with us here right now as well. If your camera is on, she can say hello.
Haley, would you like to say a few words?
Hi there. I'm just going to say thank you, and I'm looking forward to starting to help out my team with enforcement.
Okay, that's great. Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And Jenna, we'll go to you next. And as I say, we know Mike. For those of us, as I say, board members will recall on our bus tour back before the pandemic, and Mike was out there in the field, and we were looking at cover crops, and there was a slag pit, as I recall, that was trying to trap phosphorus, but he's got a different role now. So Jenna, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, through you, Chair. I'll ask Mike to turn his camera on. And as you know, Mike's been with the authority since 2015 as an agricultural soil and water quality technician. And last month, he made the move over into environmental planning and regulations as our newest regulations officer. And he'll be joining Jessica Schnaithman to cover the area of the City of London and replacing Brent as our previous regs officer assigned to the city. So we're thrilled to have Mike join our team, and I'll have him say hello.
Yes, hello. If you can all hear me, I'm excited to be in this new role. It's been quite a learning experience so far. I was lucky to do my training on my second week in the job, this POA course. So that was excellent timing to sort of get that out of the way, because I've learned that this unit is quite busy, and it's helpful to have some training out of the way so I can be useful and help Jessica in the City of London. So thank you very much for the welcome.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Michael. And yes, I'm sure there's lots to keep you busy. Lots of activity going on with planning and regulations. So any questions or comments then from members of the board? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so we've got the recommendation there. And as you heard, both of these staff members have successfully completed the course, so that's great. And I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh. Marie? Oh, did we lose Marie again? I'll come back. Anna Hopkins.
Yes.
Tony Jackson.
Yes.
Sandy Levin.
Yes.
Margaret Lepton.
Yes.
Nancy Manning.
Yes.
Hugh McDermott.
It's not back yet.
Paul Mitchell. Paul?
Oh, sorry. Cut out there for a second. Yes.
Anna Marie Murray.
Yes.
Jim Ruffle.
Yes.
Joe Salter.
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg.
Yes.
And Alan Dale.
Yes.
And is Marie back?
No, don't hear Marie. Okay, well, the motion carries. And again, congratulations to Haley and to Mike. Certainly appreciate all the hard work, and congratulations on successfully receiving your designation. And as you say, we look forward to having you join the team and your new roles, and being a part of your new job descriptions and the work you're doing. So that's great. Congratulations, and look forward to hearing lots more from you. So we'll move on now to item number 7. And this is reports for information. And speaking about planning and regulations, here we are with our Section 28 status report. I've got Anna down here again. So Anna, if you would be willing to move this, please, and Tony will second it.
I will move it.
And seconded.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we've got Jenna and staff here to answer any questions. Tracy, maybe I should start with you. Do you have anything you want to add?
I'll just add through the chair that, yeah, there's a greater number of permits that I noticed that we're not meeting the timelines this time. As you know, Brent moved over in job responsibilities in the London area, so left a little bit of a gap for London. And those, just remind everyone that those routine permits have only a 2-week time period and turnaround. So most of those permits, at least the majority of them, were issued within a week after that time period. So we're still doing pretty good, but as you know, planning and regs is a busy time, and lots of projects on the go, lots to juggle. So it's great that we've got some additional staff and Mike with his training in place too to help that out. So I'm not sure if Jenna had anything further that she wanted to add, but I'll pass it over to her if she does.
Thanks, Tracy. And I guess just to note through you, Chair, there's a few permits that will likely come forward onto next month's report. Our unit's been, like a lot of units at the authority, have been impacted by COVID this month. So we've had staff down with illness or looking after family members that are ill. So I'm not sure that we managed to get all of our permits for the month of April into this report. So those ones that were missed will be brought forward to next month. So that's also been a challenge in terms of kind of meeting our timelines and getting all of our work completed.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Jenna. Any questions or comments at all from board members? I'm not seeing or hearing anything for questions, so if everyone.
I have a question, Alan.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The last minutes from the April meeting, it was noted or suggested that perhaps in this report with the Section 28 reports that there's a lot of other active applications that we don't hear, that don't make it to this matrix. And I'm wondering if that was something that you were going to work into the next reporting schedule.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Jenna. Yeah, we did talk about how to maybe include a number of how many were sort of in the queue, but I don't know if Jenna's got an opportunity to start looking into that. So Jenna?
Yeah, thank you. And I think we'll get into this in our the next agenda item as well. But at the June meeting, we'll be bringing forward a proposal for a comprehensive review and change to our fee schedule, our planning and permitting fees. So we'll be bringing that forward next month. And as part of that reporting, we'll provide some more information about not just our permits, but our planning, our plan review timelines, and the number of applications we're seeing under the Planning Act. So we'll be bringing a lot more information forward next month, and we can try and revise our Section 28 report to include more information too. But I didn't have a chance to get to it this month.
Okay, thanks. Okay, is that good, Jim?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, good, thanks. Yeah, in a similar situation, I know with my municipality, we always have a report on how many permits were issued. And last month, for example, we included the fact that we'd received 40 applications for building permit, but 30 of them were incomplete. So we've started to do the same thing where we give a bit more of a picture as to, it's not just the number of permits that are issued every month, it's how many other ones are sort of in the process. They've been received, they have to be sent back for revisions or completeness, and a lot of them are sort of in the queue before they get to the point where the permit's issued. So as Jenna mentioned, we're going to try and include some more information, but it's just going to take a little bit of time here. So any other comments or questions at all on the Section 28 status report? Okay, I don't see or hear anything else, so I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes, I just want to take the opportunity to say I'm having connection problems, so that's why I disappeared.
Yep,
But I'm back again.
yeah, that's quite all right, Marie. Thank you.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. So that's carried. Thank you. Next item we have is 7.2, which is Bill 109, More Homes for Everyone. I've joked this sounds like the Oprah show. Everyone gets a car. It seems like here makes it sound like everyone's going to get a home or more of a home. But anyway, it's maybe a bit of a misnomer, but this is the act that the provincial government's put forth, and we've got some updates on it here. So if Sandy willing to move that, please, and Margaret second it.
So moved, and I'd appreciate being recognized to ask a couple of questions and make a comment.
Sure. Margaret, are you willing to second this?
I will second the motion.
Okay. So I've got nothing to say right now. I'm going to let Tracy comment first, and then we're going to start off the questions with Sandy. So Tracy, over to you first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you, I just wanted to note that our staff have had conversations with municipalities, and even myself, I was able to participate in Middlesex County Day. So a number of our planning directors at the lower tiers were in attendance as well. And all were chatting about how this new bill will prove challenging for municipalities too. And it was recognized that they realized this rollout effect, that it's not just affecting municipalities, but also other commenting agencies. We understand that the City of London, in order to staff up to address these challenges, has posted 9 new planning positions. So that's a pretty significant increase. And I would say as well, many municipalities will recognize that the number of complete applications, or how they're screening complete applications, will be under greater scrutiny too, because they really don't want to have that clock ticking in case there's funds that have to be reimbursed. Also had an opportunity to discuss this bill with general managers all within the high growth CAs. We've been meeting on our client services and streamlining initiatives, and some of the feedback from the GTA development community and those other high growth areas have certainly embraced this bill. That they liked the language used and the political rhetoric, but they recognize that the speed of approvals is really lower on the priority list. It's number 4. Instead, the real issues are about land availability being number 1. Even if there's land available, there's also challenges with having servicing and infrastructure available. And then thirdly, having the trades to build, and all those environmental, or those expertise through engineering and consultants, all part of the package to get those homes being built, and also materials. So when there's other challenges in place, having speedy approvals is lower on the priority list when you don't even have the land to build, for example. So just thought I'd raise those as some of the other feedback that's coming forward. But at the same time, we need to be prepared for some of these ongoing changes with this legislation. So with that, I'll certainly before I let Jenna provide the local context here too.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to add right now, Jenna, or we'll open up for questions first?
Sure, thanks. Through you, I guess I'll just add that we're anticipating, and as Tracy said, we've already had some of our municipalities reaching out with respect to the specific change to the Planning Act that's going to require municipalities to issue refunds if timelines aren't met. So while we don't know what that means in terms of the fees we charge as a commenting agency on Planning Act applications, we certainly expect that the pressure will increase in terms of the timing, as municipalities will want to be meeting those timelines in order to not have to issue refunds, which will put more pressure on our staff to meet timelines and provide comments more quickly than we have been. So we've already had municipalities reaching out to initiate conversations with how that timing window will work, and with respect to our comments as part of that process. So we are anticipating that the changes, that these changes to the Planning Act will further compound kind of the timeline and workload pressures that we're already experiencing as a staff. We are losing one of our land use planners this week. We have a staff member that's taken a job with Perth County, and this week is his last week. So we're currently advertising for some planning positions, and as Tracy noted, several of our member municipalities are actively seeking planners as well, including the 9 positions that are currently posted for the City of London. So we're not sure what the response will be like, but we're hopeful that we'll get a decent pool of applicants. But we're looking to add some capacity in anticipation of these changes taking effect. And as I mentioned previously, we'll be coming back to the board in June with some changes proposed to our fee schedules in order to offset the costs of adding that capacity.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Jenna. All right, comments and questions, and we're going to start with Sandy. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Building on Jenna's comments about fee schedule, I noticed in the report that we still have this 50-50 split between the applicant and the levy. Is one of the things we're looking at is to simplify things, that it be 100% cost to the applicant. Through you to staff.
Yeah. Jenna, any comments on that at this point?
Yeah, I guess through you, Chair, our fees policy currently states the 50-50 split. I think our current split is more 70-30 right now. So yeah, I think we definitely can look at certain types of fees changing that ratio. But I think certain types of applications, we may not necessarily want to put all of that pressure on the applicant, for our applications that are coming from municipalities. So I think it very much depends on the type of application, but I certainly think there's types of applications that could go to 100% onto the applicant. So we'll definitely be looking at that as part of our changes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, through you to staff, am I correct that municipalities received additional provincial funding for streamlining initiatives, but nothing came to conservation authorities?
Okay, Tracy or Jenna, who wants to answer?
I can say that through the chair, yes, that is correct. Yes, any announcements that were made were streamlining initiatives to modernize, and were to municipalities and not to conservation authorities.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sandy?
Constantly amazes me. The next question leads into the City of London. I know in the past we've asked for help with budget pressures by additional monies from the City of London, specifically to the Upper Thames for London-related applications, which tend to drive our demands. Is that something we're also looking at again this year?
Tracy, you want to?
Sure, I can start. Yes, in the past we have applied for something the City of London has called growth assessment funding, Now, the criteria that is used to distribute those funds has changed over the last few years. Instead, they're intended to be more on the ground, almost infrastructure needs and delivery of service needs in the way of, longer garbage truck routes and more recycling pickups and more street pavement to maintain street lights. Those types of things are higher at the priority list than those that are, I'll call them softer services and supporting development because of growth. I think that classification is fifth on the priority list. So in making it a little bit more challenging, and also the city has made it very clear that that fund has been oversubscribed. So the likelihood of getting those funds is given the priority listing and because of the need and the requests coming forward, probably very unlikely through that means. However, we do see the opportunities for negotiating our service delivery, and the City of London has often requested, I'll call it enhanced services, even reduced timelines than we've delivered to all other municipalities under the Planning Act. That perhaps that's an option to make a request and build into that service delivery model through our MOUs. Jenna,
Okay.
I'll ask you if there's anything further you want to add. I know you've been in discussions a little bit more frequently with City of London planning staff on that.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add other than we're still in discussions with the city about the development MOU. We brought a report to the board, I believe in the fall or last year about that report, which has sort of been on hold as we await some of the CA Act regulations. So our discussions are ongoing with the city about that particular MOU. I think we've got a meeting set up next week to further discussion about that agreement with them, but it's possible that that may be something that we discuss with them as part of that agreement, where we would have some additional fees associated with applications that are coming from the city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I wonder if Conservation Ontario is speaking as one to the province regarding both the lack of funding to help us process applications, and second, some of the proposed changes regarding restricting certain types of conditions of draft approval. I can certainly see this provincial government potentially allowing things to happen in wetlands and floodways. So are we speaking in one voice about these potential changes?
I know at the Conservation Ontario meeting, there was a report on this, and the fellows from Toronto and Region Conservation, and also the rep from Hamilton Conservation Authority, we're talking about this and the grave concerns that they have and the challenges that they're going to have simply because of the amount of growth they have. I don't know if I know the CO also works with the general managers, and they've been having some calls on this. Tracy, you might have some further insights into this.
Yes, through the chair to Sandy. Certainly Conservation Ontario submitted comments after the period, because this is one of those very last minute bills that was just kind of pushed through without any consultation. But their goal was to also align with the Association of Municipalities and some of the municipal concerns that were put forward. Not sure what will happen with those comments, but again, wanted to be on the record and supporting our municipalities too, because we have many of the same concerns.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was certainly, we certainly discussed it, and I mean, it certainly is a concern for all CAs, even in the areas where there isn't necessarily high growth, there's still capacity issues with CAs. So it's, I would say we are speaking with one voice, but it's just a matter of whether anybody's listening to us.
My last comment, Mr. Chair, is, and I'm speaking from somebody who's been looking at London for close to 30 years now, so I don't know what happens in other municipalities, but the industry here does a really good job of managing supply. They don't overbuild. So I don't anticipate this act is going to make housing prices go down in any way, shape, or form, because it's basically demand driven, and people in the industry price and supply based on capacity. So frankly, I think there's a bit of a mythology, and there was a good article in the Weekend Toronto Star about more supply is not going to necessarily bring prices down. It may increase availability, but the price points are based on demand. And once demand falls, supply will fall. So, it's more being driven right now of fear of missing out than it is about affordability. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, yep, thanks, Sandy. Yeah, it certainly is a challenging issue and lots going on. And I think, yeah, there isn't just one simple solution here, but anyway, it's going to be a challenge for us to keep up with this. Further comments and questions? I've got Mark next. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I guess my first comment is when I hear a term like More Homes for Everyone Act, living in and being on city council in the city of Woodstock, they start talking about things like additional residential units, which might not be a gigantic factor for conservation authorities or the UTRCA in particular. But the tug of war then becomes, once you've used all your brownfields, and there's people obviously complaining that live in an R1 zoning area and single detached homes, that their fear is that everyone's going to have a basement apartment, and boy, is that going to change my neighborhood. But the big tug of war battle ends up being boundary adjustments. Does the city of Woodstock, for example, grow into Margaret Lupton's neighborhood, Nice or Tavistock, move that boundary adjustment again? And then there's pressures there from conservation authorities. But my only question, I guess, is if I refer to Jenna again this time, because I discussed with Jenna through email about the fact that the city of Woodstock had retired a golf course that was within the city limits, and it had a nice big pond that was put in there for a water attraction in the middle of this 18-hole golf course. But then you look at the plan of subdivision, and mysteriously that pond just disappears. It no longer exists because they're going to fill in this man-made pond and build houses there. So at some point in time, it's such a push and tug of war that it becomes very difficult to analyze between boundary adjustments and waterways and all that stuff. I don't know if Jenna's got any explanation on that specific case, or just cases like that in general when they want to start changing significant areas, whether they be former golf courses or former agricultural areas.
Yeah, it certainly is an issue. As you say, we use up all the brownfields, we then go after green spaces, and that pond isn't very far from the Thames River. So Jenna, do you have any comments to make at this point?
Yeah, thanks. Through you, Chair. I guess I would say that as we see the limits of development being pushed further, we're certainly seeing a lot more problematic areas with proposed development in them from a hazards perspective. So we become, we're not seeing just sort of the intensity increase in terms of the number of applications we're seeing, but we're seeing, the applications that are coming forward are being proposed on lands that are particularly problematic from a hazards perspective. And so it is a bit of a tug and war on a lot of these areas, because we understand the development pressure, but at the same time, our job is to conserve and protect. And make sure that those proposed developments are protected from hazard lands. So we certainly, if it's regulated, we don't support the removal of hazard lands of important environmental features, and that certainly comes across in our comments, and we don't permit it if it's a hazard area. When it comes to a heritage feature, we really only have a commenting role. And so that's where sometimes we're seeing the municipalities approving things that we might not necessarily recommend approval for. But it's and we're also seeing increased number of violations. So we're seeing areas, important areas being removed without proper approvals in place. And so then it's sort of a battle of restoration and making sure things get put back to the way they were. So it's certainly a battle and something that we're dealing with all the time and a lot more regularly.
Okay. Any follow-up, Mark?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, okay, good, thanks. Anna, you're next. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for their comments too. I really do appreciate hearing different perspectives here. And it's pretty hard not to be concerned about these new regulations and how this is going to speed up our application process and getting more homes built. I have a question around the Community Infrastructure and Housing Accelerator Order. And I look at that as almost like the MZO. And I have asked staff to, at the City of London, I know they'll be giving us some updates, not only with all the new changes and how we're going to proceed, at least a report on that early this summer. But I'm a little bit confused or how that is going to work or proceed. Obviously, the municipality would have to agree to get this order. But who would be responsible? And do we know the timelines? So how is that all going to work? Would it be the municipality that would be responsible for that whole process and giving back the money if it's not within a timeline? But if the city doesn't have complete control of that, I'm just a little confused how that is all going to work.
I think a lot of us are confused, but
okay.
Tracy, I don't know if you
I'll let Jenna.
Okay, okay.
Jenna answer that.
Jenna, go ahead, please.
Sure, and I don't really know all of the answers either. Other than that the CIH-AOs are only being considered at the request of the municipality. But beyond that, I'm not sure what the refund policies would be, but I believe it would be managed by the municipality, similar to the way the MZOs are.
Okay, thank you for that. That would make sense, but I'm not sure how much authority the municipality would have in getting the process done sooner than later, depending on the Conservation Authority to get that permit in place. So I'm just a little bit, I've got lots of concerns about all this, to tell you the truth, and how it's just going to make it all work, speed it up. But my biggest concern here, and maybe this is a question, about the funding that conservation authorities have not been given. And I want to make sure we weren't given any.
How about I get you, is it all right if I get you say 5 after 11? I think my meeting.
Oh, sorry.
I think he's got a call.
Somebody else just cut in here. Sorry, Anna, continue on.
That's okay. I guess I really want to make sure I understand that our Conservation Authority, we have not received any funding for all these changes in Bill 109 going forward, but we've also not received changes dealing with the pandemic as well. I just want to get that out there. We're doing all this on what we've always done.
Right.
So
Tracy,
that,
I don't believe we have received any funding.
That is correct.
So that is a huge concern, because I know as municipalities, we couldn't be doing hiring 9 more planners unless we got some additional funding here. and the pressures are great. And I think we really need to understand the challenges that conservation authorities are under, especially when it comes to funding with all these changes and how that's all going to work. Because I hear it from the developers saying we need to move up these applications, get them done faster. People move in, they buy homes. Some of them don't even, look at the house before they buy a new home in a subdivision, and then concerns about water start to arise. And it just seems to be just constant challenges that we're being faced with. And we're not really speeding things up in any way, not that I've been able to see from my perspective. But I think the funding part is something that we don't talk about enough. And I know representing a municipality, we would not be able to do what we're trying to do without that additional funding that we received. So I guess I just want to vent a little bit. So thanks for listening.
No, that's good. Thank you, Anna. And certainly, yes, the conservation authorities are they say we're outlining our concerns and the lack of funding. We've been repeating that message. That's, again, I'm not sure if anyone's listening to us at the provincial level, but we will continue to put up that fight, because these regulations or these new acts, they sound good, but the devil is in the details, and we haven't seen the details yet. So there's a lot that remains to be sorted out. Further comments or questions at all from any of the board members? I'm not seeing or hearing anything. Oops.
Alan, I think I keep kicked out. It keeps
okay.
freezing on.
Sorry, Marie.
So I don't know, maybe it might have gone down when I got frozen there for a second.
Yeah, we can hear you now, so go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for the discussion. It's certainly putting a lot of this in a perspective, and it's very educational for me. But as someone who is not a council member, I have a little bit different perspective. And one of the items that I flagged was the one saying that municipalities will be required to delegate authority for site plan approval to staff. And as someone who's been active in the neighborhood, I have to say that I know sometimes we're seen as kind of a problem who slows things down, but it's also an excellent communication tool. And we do that through our counselors and in that site plan approval process. And I just wanted to flag that, because I think that's just another area where they're seeing it as, well, we'll cut out this communication with people in the neighborhood who have their, have concerns, but it's also a good way to have back and forth, and they're cutting that out to speed it up. And I find that rather disturbing.
Yeah, there's certainly, that's part of the issue. The more you try to streamline things and speed them up, there is some cost to doing that, and removing some of the requirements. Some people view it as an improvement, and some people certainly don't. So it's, as I say, the province didn't really do a whole lot of consultation on this. They brought it forward, and it seems to have been a bit rushed. So I don't know if there's anything more we can do at this point. We'll just try our best to manage the expectations that the province is going to put on us here.
Yeah, I'm not sure anything can be done, but I just kind of wanted to flag that because it's a little different perspective, and I think a city councillor might be looking at this.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. If there's no other comments or questions, then this has received a report for information, and I'm going to call for the vote. So Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. And we'll move on now to 7.3. And this is the Conservation Authorities Act update. And it's the phase 2 regulations.
Already had 200 units.
And so
Oh,
okay, just a reminder for everyone, if you're not speaking, make sure you're muted. We don't want to pick up too much background noise there. So 7.3, if I could get Nancy to move this and Hugh to second it, please.
So moved.
So second.
Great, thank you very much. So this is one that we dealt with, I think just before our last meeting. We had just got a verbal update from Tracy. The province had just sent the stuff out. And now we've had a bit more time to look at it. So Tracy, I'll turn it over to you to highlight some of this for us.
Sure, thank you, Alan. And through the chair, yes, wanted to provide this update on the phase 2 regulations. As Alan noted, it had been posted the Friday before our board meeting, so after any reports had already been circulated. So certainly outlines the different regulations that have been passed, very much in alignment with what we had seen through the consultation efforts, and not drastically different from what we have been doing in practice. So one of the complementary pieces of regulations that was included in this phase 2 was to increase transparency of Conservation Authority operations by requiring the public posting of prescribed information on a governance section of our website. And we've been making some additions to our website as the regulations have been coming to fruition. And I thought this would be a great opportunity for Emily to show the board the changes to our website and our governance page, and where almost all of this information that's required in this piece of regulation are already posted. There's one piece that we have not included directly, I guess, is contact information for each board member. Instead, we have any information requests sent to our info line, which Michelle is able to monitor and circulate those requests and pass that information along to our members. We recognize not every member is a municipal councillor, and didn't really want to be sharing those direct contact information, but can certainly make sure that information is shared through that means. And this regulation doesn't come into effect until January of 2023, but certainly I think we're almost there at checking this one off. So Emily, if I can have you go to our webpage and give a little tour around so we can show those changes that we've been able to make.
I'm just changing the screen I'm sharing. There we go. Can you see that okay, Tracy?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So all I've done is gone to our website and clicked on the About Us right up here. And if you scroll down, you can see that you can go directly to this tab that outlines all of our board members listed by the area that they represent. And then you have the agendas for upcoming meetings and minutes of past meetings here. And those just break down into the ones. And as we have the meetings, obviously we update the website to include the link to the recording and the minutes that we take. Is there anything else specifically you want me to point out?
Sure. If you just scroll down a little bit further, you can see that we have our administrative bylaws posted in this area, our municipal agreements, our order in council, that we have any of our guidelines for conducting our hearings, our audited financial statements, our approved budgets, and as well as our fees policies and annual fee schedules. So again, when you look through the new reg, which I printed off, 'cause I'd like to have paper. We're checking many of the boxes already. So again, just thought we'd share that so all of our members were aware and could see these updates and know where to locate that information.
Very good. Okay. So we're getting caught up and meeting those timelines and getting all this stuff. Say a lot of it we already did provide, but we're getting it all there for it's accessible to the public. Any comments or questions at all from the board members on this report? I'm not seeing or hearing any questions. So I'm going to call for the vote. And Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that's carried. That's great. And we'll move on to 7.4, and that's the FYI report for this month. And lots going on in there. So if I could get Paul to move this, please, and Anna Marie to second it, please.
So moved.
So seconded.
Okay, good. Thank you. So yeah, again, that time of year where lots of activity going on outside as well as our usual activity indoors. And anyone have any questions or comments at all on the FYI report? I'm not seeing or hearing anything. So if everyone's okay and there's no questions or comments, I'm going to call for the vote to receive this for information. So Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
Mark Schadenberg.
Are you there, Mark?
Yes. I have to go get my sick son at school, so I'm just, I'll be signing out now too.
Okay.
Okay.
No, that's good. Okay, thanks, Mark.
And Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that's carried. Thank you. So move on to item number 8. Notices of motion. Does anyone have any notice to give of any motion for an upcoming meeting? Not seeing or hearing anything. Item number 9, chair's comments. I haven't got a whole lot. I'll try to say I could talk a long time about things, but we've hit some of the highlights of what's going on and discussions at CEO level and that. There was a webinar on May 2nd that we did with the ministry, and there's just a lot of frustration and a lot of details yet to sort out. So it's quite a process. So there's a lot more work to be done. Conservation Ontario has been really busy, let's say, advocating for the conservation authorities and outline our position to the provincial government. But Kim Gavin, who is the general manager of Conservation Ontario, has announced her retirement, and she will be leaving as general manager on June 30th, end of June. So the board of directors with Conservation Ontario is just starting a process now where they've actually selected Waterhouse. So Waterhouse is going to help them in the hiring process to hire a new general manager for Conservation Ontario. So we're hoping to get that work done in the next several weeks, and then we can have a new general manager in place, and we'll gear things up again. And by that time, the provincial election will be over, and I say we'll be back doing battle. Maybe battle is not the correct word, but we'll be back negotiating and working with the province. Sort of, I say, after the election's over and we're back up and running again, and we'll carry on and continue to sort these details out with these changes to Conservation Authorities Act and these new regulations and expectations that the province has for us. So that's all that I have. Item number 10 is members' comments. Do any of the members have anything they'd like to comment on at this point? I'm not seeing or hearing any from anyone. So the next we go to Tracy. Tracy, you have some comments you'd like to make for today's meeting.
Sure. Thank you, Alan. Through you. Again, I was just going to provide a little bit of an update to the board after our May 2nd webinar from the province dealing with our inventories of programs and services. The invitation was sent by Alan through all the board members. I know we had a few in attendance. Margaret Lepton was able to attend, and Sandy as well, as Alan too. So the ministry explained a few things as they had reviewed all conservation authorities' inventories of programs and services, and were providing some very high-level general comments back. And they kind of had 6 different themes at which they thought there could be some improvements to be made for the next round of submissions that are due in the beginning of July for each quarter. They did explain that there was no approval process for the inventories, so that was something that conservation authorities weren't quite sure what the province was going to be doing with these inventories. But they said no, it wasn't an approval process. Instead, their intent was to provide some areas of improvement that could be made as we continue to submit updated inventories. With those main things that they had wanted a little bit more detail on was the dates on which any agreements and past historical agreements for either Category 2 or Category 3 services were in place. We had provided some those who we had agreements with and some generalities, but they really wanted some specificity to that. From our agreements, I guess there was many CAs that didn't give any explanation to why they didn't consider a 5-year average of costing. We did provide a 5-year costing, but also made notes in the bottom that it really didn't reflect kind of the changes that we had or impacts due to COVID, changes in inflation, costs of insurance skyrocketing, things like that, just to really paint an accurate picture looking forward. As well, we confirmed that we categorized our programs and services accurately. Some CAs, again, especially if there were smaller CAs and are providing a program and service that could be both Category 1 and Category 3 together, because when you're dealing with people, you can't really divide up the person, and that person could be doing a little bit of both. But the province really seemed to want those categories split out in some way, shape, or form. They did appreciate whenever notes were provided to provide that further explanation. They found that very helpful, and even wanted some more clarity to confirm that authorities were planning to continue to offer the programs and services that were in the inventories. Thought that was a little bit intuitive, but again, they really wanted some specificity to detail that. Again, those are some updates that we can make, and certainly some clarification notes if that helps with further submissions on our inventories. With that, that was the main thing I wanted to suggest, and that's kind of where we are with our inventory. So not too many deficiencies. It's glad to see that most things were done correctly, but as stated, we'll be continuing to revise and as we resubmit each quarter. So thank you.
Okay, good, thank you. So if there's nothing else for comments then from anyone, Item number 12, we have one item left, and that is an in-camera report. So we will need to go into closed session. So if I can get Jim to move that, and maybe Margaret, if you could second that we go into closed session.
So moved.
Margaret, are you willing to second that? Oh, you're still muted, Margaret.
Here we go. Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
I
Yep.
thought I was doing really well this meeting.
You were.
Okay, no, I second the motion.
Very good, thank you. All right, so motion to go in closed session, and Michelle, if you could do the roll call, please.
Mary Blosh,
Yes.
Anna Hopkins,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Anna Marie Murray,
Yes.
Jim Raffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes. Okay, so that's carried. We'll go into closed meeting. We'll just give Emily a moment here to stop the live stream and to move anybody into the, only a few minutes here to get people back out of the waiting room and to get the live stream going again. So
Okay,
I
that's in the
appreciate
works.
people's patience, folks. I know it's been a long meeting, and unfortunately we have lost some board members here today at the meeting, but still it's a long overdue that we have some discussion on some things.
Okay, we're back live.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you, Emily. Okay, so we're back in open session. I'd be willing to entertain a motion from any of the board members. Would the board members like to see a further report then at the June meeting regarding the issues that we discussed?
He
in
has his
closed
hand
session?
up.
Oh, Sandy, I see Sandy's hand there. Sandy?
Yeah.
Well, since nobody else has stuck up their hand, I'll put on the floor the 4-part motion.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that at all?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Joe. Okay. So there is the 4-part motion moved by Sandy and seconded by Joe. And this is that staff proceed to implement the salary increases as recommended by ML Consulting. And there's some further pieces there.
Can I
4 parts.
suggest that, sorry, Alan, for interrupting.
Yep, go
Can I
ahead.
suggest that we accept the recommended change in the salary structure?
The recommended change in the salary structure. Okay. And Joe, you're okay with that wording?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So that's the motion we have on the floor. Any comments or questions all on the motion? Tony, go ahead. Tony, I think you're muted still. Go ahead, Tony.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Once again, the screen had changed, so I hit the wrong area. So once again, Mr. Chair, I would reiterate my point that there's a significant amount of information missing, and it's not a fully costed proposal. And I think it would be irresponsible to make a decision without all the information supporting how that's funded and fully costed. And I cannot accept it. And at this point in time,
Not saying that there isn't some changes needed, but I would not be able to support that motion at this time. And secondly, if there's a vote to be had, I would ask that it be a recorded vote. Thank you.
Okay. Further comments or questions? Oh, Sandy, go ahead.
Through you to Tony, I would suggest, Tony, if your concern is the timing of this without more information, I would suggest that you may want to make a referral motion, which is always in order, to send it back to staff with some additional direction, and to see if that flies.
Tony, there we go. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I am on speaker now, am I? I think I hit the right button. So again, I did think about that, and I don't disagree. That's probably an appropriate motion to make a referral to the next meeting with more information provided.
Okay, so Tony would like to refer this to our next meeting with some further information. And I would assume particularly on the funding side, so we know what the costing, actually we don't know all the costing, so costing and funding. Okay, I need a seconder for that then, and I see Margaret, your hand up. Margaret, are you seconding this?
You're muted.
Margaret, we can't hear you yet.
Sorry, I can't help but question a vote of this importance when there aren't that many of us still at this meeting. We're missing quite a few people. I'm assuming that we have our what we need, but it still seems that there's a lot of voices that we're not hearing on a pretty important issue.
Yes, we do have quorum, but we are missing some board members. So Tony has moved a referral to the next meeting. Are you in favor of seconding that then? We refer it to next meeting for further information?
You asking me?
Yes.
Oh,
I didn't know if it sounded like you were in agreement with that, so.
yeah, I will second that, yeah.
Okay. So now we have a motion moved and seconded to refer this to the next meeting for further information. Any comments or questions at all on that motion? I'm not seeing or hearing anything, so I'm going to call for the vote on the motion to refer this to our next meeting in June. Okay, so Michelle, if you could do the roll, please.
Marie Blosh,
Yes.
Tony Jackson,
Yes, and thank you.
Sandy Levin,
Yes.
Margaret Lupton,
Yes.
Nancy Manning,
Yes.
Hugh McDermott,
Yes.
Paul Mitchell,
Yes.
Jim Ruffle,
Yes.
Joe Salter,
Yes.
and Alan Dale.
Yes.
And
Okay, so
sorry, before we continue, can I just clarify one quick thing with Tony, who made a request that, sorry, I've just lost my words, that the vote be recorded. I just wanted to confirm that that was on the initial motion. That has now been referred.
You are correct.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
okay.
I assumed so, but I did not want to
Okay, so just, yeah, it's
get that wrong.
we'll have it in the written minutes, but yeah, obviously in the live meeting, it's all being recorded, but yes, it was on the initial motion. So perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, folks. Appreciate your patience and your assistance, but we'll get some further information on that item for next month's meeting. Okay, and with
Mr.
that,
Chair, it's Marianne. I'm going to sign off now and just wanted to thank you all for having me today and have a good week.
Yes, and again, thank you. Appreciate it. And a lot of good information there. And I'm certainly expect the board members to take some time in the next few weeks to review it again. And if they have any further questions, we'll be in touch. So
Okay.
appreciate all the work you've done for us. It's quite substantial. So thank you.
My pleasure. Have a good week, folks.
Thanks, you too. Okay. So yeah, I have nothing else then, folks, just a motion to adjourn. And if I can get Marie, are you there? We'll get Marie to move adjournment.
I'm here and I will move adjournment.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, folks, appreciate it. Good discussion and lots to do here, but it's been a long meeting. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.